Hello and welcome back. I've read most of your posts, or your Dropbox answers for the movie Whip It. And so what I want to do is go back and give you my reading of the book Whip It and the movie as it pertains to race. Now, a few of you pointed out that whiteness is kind of invisible and not talked about when it comes to race. It's just kind of set as normal. Um, I would say that's a very important point when we look at Whip It, the book and the movie, which are, I would argue, the most popular narratives about roller derby. So they aren't the only ones, but they're the most popular and widespread. My critique of the book is that while it does deal with race, and in a good way, I believe, Pashamini is of Middle Eastern descent, and there's some points in the book where it does talk about, um, you know, trouble with problematic attitudes in the small Texas town towards race. Um, my critique is that this racial diversity is definitely shown in the book, but it is not portrayed in the roller derby community very well. Now, there are slight mentions when Bliss first comes to try out roller derby about people of all shades and that sort of stuff, but it's not very pronounced. And the fact that her best friend, who is a person of color, decides roller derby is not for her, implicitly argues that roller derby is a sport full of white people, which isn't true. And I'm not necessarily faulting Shauna Cross, for this. I'm just saying that her book doesn't give us a good narrative of people of color in roller derby. Now, when she adapted the book to the screenplay in 2006, there were a number of things that she added in to take into more account, to take race into more account. Now, these didn't make it all the way into the movie, unfortunately. Now, you might have noticed that the transition from the book and the movie kind of ignores most of Pasha's racial identity, although the actress who plays Pashamini in the movie is of Iranian descent herself. So there's not any mention of her being a Middle Eastern descent in the movie, but the actress herself is. And I don't know if that was a concession on the part of whoever was directing the movie, or how that exactly got, the stuff about race got lost. But I think it further compounds the problem of seeing roller derby as a white sport. If you look at some of the extras on the DVD, Colby, the small town hero football player, um, you know, is rude to Bliss, and then he takes off. And this is a scene that was cut from the movie. Pash runs out and yells something about that they should have left a tip, and Colby responds by yelling, "Here's a tip, go back to Iraq, you terrorist." Now, this was something that made it into the movie but didn't make the final cut. And she responds to him that, she says, "I was born in Seattle, asshole." So definitely bringing racial issues into the movie that just they got lost in the final cut. I don't know why. A few other things that from the 2006 script that Shauna wrote that didn't make it into the movie, not even as an extra, were a scene where Pash and her parents, let's see, Pash talks to her parents after skipping to go to the Derby game, and we kind of meet her parents. Another point in the script is where Bliss first shows up to practice, and she describes the girls as black, white, Asian, etc. That's I'm sorry, Pash doesn't describe that, but the stage directions in the script describe that. Um, Juana Beaton is captain of the Sirens in the script, and she's described as, quote, a Latina with curves to kill, end quote. And the character, which I think becomes Rosa Sparks in the movie, was Kid Vicious. Um, I think she's probably the closest one to be comparable to Rosa Sparks. And we do see a little bit of diversity in the movie with Rosa Sparks as black roller derby player. Um, we don't get a whole lot of um, diversity in the cast, though. Um, there was another scene that where Pasha's mom and talks to Bliss's mom over the phone, and there's some miscommunication that was also left out of the movie. So my critique is that while I do enjoy the book and I enjoy the movie, I would argue that there isn't the ethnic diversity in roller derby communities is not represented in the book or the movie, even though we do see a representation, a small representation of blackness with the character of Rosa Sparks. What I want to do now, so that we have that critique in mind, is to go back and look at the history of roller derby and see how diversity, racial diversity, or ethnic diversity has always been a part of roller derby. Um, what I'll have you do is read Frank DeFord's article, The Roller Derby, which was written in the late 60s. It does come in the cover of the Roller Derby Chronicles, but I've also put it on the content tab as a PDF. In the discussion board, I want you to pick one passage, quote it, give me a substantial response to that passage, and and then respond to two other posts so we can get a good discussion on about the history of roller derby. We're going to start way back in the late 60s. Roller derby started in 1935. It was very popularized in TV through the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and then kind of died out until its resurgence. We'll see that. All right, so good job with the posts, and I will see you all next time.